Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Double Gameweek 34 pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zophar. My co host, Lateriser, and I are joined after a long time by our friend Big Man Bakar. How's it going, buddy?
Thanks for having me, Zoph. Hello, and welcome to all the listeners and viewers. Why is my picture appearing on the screen? What's going on? What the hell is this? What is the need for this picture?
It's a blue tick, Bakar. Now, don't be so shy. You insisted on having it. Now, I mean, Cristiano has been calling you. All these other guys, you have the blue tick. They don't.
All right, Zoph. Thanks for for giving me so much credit. I mean, I appreciate the acknowledgement. I mean, yeah, it's been a good few weeks for me. I've
Did
been
you miss
busy
us?
Of course. I mean, I missed you. I've actually had 5 or 6 green arrows in a row. Staying away from Zoph has clearly helped. We haven't been in touch for nil as such, so I mean, I guess I really missed you, Zoph. I mean, we used to occasionally speak over the phone, which was nice. But yes, I mean, it's nice to be back. I was busy with Eid, and finally looking forward to this spotting before this double game week.
Just out of curiosity, do extracurricular activities remain active?
You were feeling very naked during the week, Bakar. I saw a video about that. Tell us.
No.
Is that an answer for both, Bakar?
Yes.
All right, man. Yeah, you've been on a good run of green arrows. Where you placed at right now, and what's your aim for the end of the season?
I actually haven't checked my rank this week, but I was 56k before the start of the week, and I'm looking to finish in the top 50k. To be very honest, I think that's a realistic aim that I've set myself, especially now that I'm going to take a few hits in the coming weeks. But yes, I mean, I'm well placed, especially compared to where I was before the Gameweek 26 wildcard. I think that's worked out really well. In fact, I was checking, I have almost 10 greens in like 12 weeks. So things have been going really well. And I've been really lucky as well with a lot of calls. So good to see some positive variance falling my way as well.
Nice. What about you, Zoph? Squeaky bum time now, I'm guessing, with just being 10 points above relegation places. Are you feeling nervous at all about that?
Oh, I'm hoping now Lampard can beat Gary Neville's record, as Pras said on Twitter. Another record in Lampard's cap.
Nice. And how's FPL been treating you?
Pretty decent. I'm excited for the last 5 weeks right now. It's only literally like, you can count them on the back of our hand. So I think there are a lot of changes, a lot of things, exciting times coming up. A lot of punts are opening up. I think now's the time to laterize, right?
I mean, I feel differently about the season. I'm absolutely loving the football, but I haven't felt this less enthusiastic about the end of a season from an FPL point of view in a long time. Like even the season where I was outside 1 million, I was sort of having more fun than I'm probably having this season. Maybe just expectations or maybe how the last weeks have been. But the football's great. I'm really enjoying. I mean, yesterday was fabulous. So especially the whole Dennis Richards moment. I mean, just removing the hair and saying, you know what, now I'm going to score a goal and beat Ramos. I thought one of the moments of the season for me. It was glorious to see.
Great game. We'll talk more about it. We'll talk about City in detail. Let's kick off with our sponsor plug. All data you see on the FPL Wire is taken from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. The new improved members area is now up and running, and the new comparison tool lets you compare key stats for up to 3 players. Player projections are also live, and as always, you can access the custom stats table we create or make one for yourself. Sign up for membership today using our affiliate link in the description below. Right, Jen. So should we start with City first?
Yes, the place to go. I mean, I think a good place to start is just generally talk about.
I think just sorry to interrupt you. Before we jump into City, I think in order to contextualize the whole discussion, we need to talk about the schedule first, because that really plays into how we think about City and Liverpool, and I think that will give a lot more context to our discussions. So I'll bring up now the ticker by Lego Mane here, and I'm just going to draw over your faces, guys, so everyone can see this clearly on mobile. What you guys need to pay attention to is the section at Game Week 34 for Man City and Liverpool. Now, once the midweek fixtures out of the way, it's 3 days recovery. And to just give you guys some context on this, sports science says that there should be a minimum of 72 hours for players to recover. Below that, there's a higher risk of injury. Above 96, the gains are marginal. So that's the thinking behind this. So City is now first Game Week 34 game, and this is the same as Liverpool, right? They both have the same schedule. They play on Sunday. The second game is on the Wednesday, only 2 days in the middle. The third game on the weekend is on a Saturday. So it's effectively a Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday turnaround, and City have to play Madrid on the Tuesday, not even on the Wednesday. So they're effectively playing, I think, now 4 games in the space of 30th to 10th, like 10 days. It's literally the most compressed schedule possible. It's not possible to design a schedule that could be more compressed. And a similar thing with Liverpool as well, but they don't have the European fixture. And we have seen Klopp does do strange things when he has the Sunday, Saturday turnaround. So this you guys need to keep in mind before we get into our discussions. Right, let's talk about City first, and Pranil, tell us about the game yesterday.
I mean, what a fabulous game for Manchester City. And, just completely dominated. I mean, they could have won the game 6-0, 7-0. Arsenal didn't show a lot. And I think it had a lot more to do with the 3 games preceding that compared to the game yesterday, because they dropped points from a winning position in 2 winnable games. And I think coming into this sort of game from that mindset sort of stood out. They just didn't stand up. And, I don't think Arteta committed to pressing. I have seen his teams press a lot more. And you know what? When you're playing a beast like Manchester City, and you're playing the kind of idealistic football that Arteta wants to play, the downgrade from a Saliba to a Holding is just too drastic to make up for. And in times like this, in the crunch period between 30 to 38, the value of a squad that Manchester City has kind of shows its face. And this worked out. I mean, De Bruyne and Haaland, De Bruyne, it's like deja vu. It was pretty much around this time last season, around the Game Week 30 mark, where we said that De Bruyne is probably the best differential in the game for those that are chasing. And here we are a year later, around the 33 mark, and he's amassed 3 goals, 5 assists in the last 4 league games. Another differential, just waiting for the chasers. And the beauty is, I think he's going to remain a differential, because people have to probably pick between him and Salah and decide whether they want to sell Bruno. And I think what happens tonight has a lot of impact on that. So that's where we are. What do you think?
He's yellow flagged, and that's interesting now because Pep says he's managing some injuries and asked to be substituted. Now, with the schedule the way it is, I think it's infeasible that any of these City star players, that includes Haaland, will start all 4 games. They could, but it goes against all principles of sports science, which we know that these managers are big on. So, as such, I don't think KDB is an investable asset, but I would go there more for free hitters right now than I would say more for like somebody who's just playing it normally. Bakar, what do you think?
I think all popular assets, barring Haaland, are at risk. I think Haaland will play all four fixtures because that's how Pep has managed him. I mean,
Play
we've
or
seen him
start?
start because we've seen Haaland start uh, almost all fixtures across a congested schedule previously this season as well. And I think, given how easy the fixtures are on paper, City will have wrapped the game up by, let's say, 40, 50 minutes, and Haaland will get a break. And I don't think that will make him to be a big question mark for, let's say, game week 35, which I suspect will be the big rotation hotspot versus Leeds, as it's just before the Madrid fixture and right after the Wednesday game against West Ham. I think Grealish misses one of the next three, especially now that Mahrez and Foden are back. Same goes for De Bruyne. I think Alvarez could potentially start a fixture. I know you're high on Alvarez off, so I'll let you take the floor. But overall, I think if it's very tricky to buy a City asset this week just because you know what's coming. There is upside to it for sure, but it's tough to justify when other players, like, for example, Pranil mentioned Salah or the likes of Trent, are likely to play two fixtures and have equally explosive potential given the fact that their minutes are not as likely to be managed as for Man City, because you would expect City's players to get rested by, let's say, 50, 60, 65 minutes.
Yeah, I think Bucket is spot on there. It's exactly what I expect to happen. I mean, the last time Erling Haaland played less than 45 minutes, I was just looking at his minutes on the FPL page, is game week 14. Like it's a flurry of 90s, a couple of 76s, and 145. And they've been doing that in the cup also, and the kind of form, etc., that they're in. I am with you. I expect them to wrap up games by the 40th, 55th, 45th to 60th minute, early subs, rest the players, and that's how I expect that to work. So I'm with you on that. And I think if you're talking about game week 35, the minutes in that game are very much dependent on what happens in the games in game week 34, whether they're wrapped up. There could be a game which turns out where City are not able to close. So it sort of depends on that. And when it comes to investing in City assets, I share the same sentiments with you. If I'm on free hit, I go for a Kevin De Bruyne. But if I'm buying an asset until the end of the season, I still probably go for Mo Salah over Kevin De Bruyne, because more than anything else now it's 4 home games for Liverpool, 4 games at Anfield, and the 2 away games are to Southampton and Leicester. So I don't think the fixtures get any better. I think that's where I'd go.
I'd also like to mention here that Edison, despite the fact that he's been a consistent source of 2 points, I have him in my team myself. I don't think he's a bad buy this week. I mean, a lot of the people are uh, in this position where they own just Kepa or Raya, and I think they can go with Ederson simply because of the number of fixtures that City have, and you would expect City to keep plenty of clean sheets in the weeks to come. Their defensive numbers, their data has been decent. I mean, you can argue that Edison is not a good shot stopper. So even when City have a low XGC, they often tend to concede. But I mean, I would still think that they will keep a sizable number of clean sheets in the weeks to come. And especially when you look at Brentford's fixtures, they aren't the best. Chelsea are looking like a complete mess. Uh, there are plenty of people with Pope out there. We know Pruss is someone. And if you're looking to get, let's say, open up a spot for Isak, I think that's another move that makes sense for a lot of people who are contemplating moving to a keeper.
I completely disagree with Bakar on Edison being a good pick, and I'll list my reasons. Number one, we just mentioned that City will be looking to wrap up games, and we've seen what happens when City wrap up games. Last 30 minutes, they slack off, they make silly substitutions, and they let in the odd goal. Now, the thing with the City spot, I think if Edison is going to be your second City, it still makes sense, because what we have to keep in mind is the game week 35 fixture for Leeds is Hall potential, and that is the first fixture for game week 35. We are likely going to get some sort of leak if Mahrez starts, Alvarez starts, and that with only 3 or 4 game weeks worth to go is worth chasing. If you're going to lock yourself out of that third City spot, let's say if you have Grealish and go Edison, you're closing that route off completely. Let's say we get some indication that Alvarez is starting, so anything opens up. You're completely
Yes.
closing out the route for the most high upside team in the league.
That's
For
a
what?
that's a great point you're making, Zof,
No,
because I was contemplating whether I should go for a City player or not, and you've just reeled me in saying that yeah, we're going to get an open choice ITK based punt in game week 35, and maybe I keep that spot open. I currently own both. So, yeah,
okay.
good shout.
Let's see. Let's say we get news that Mahrez is starting in 35, or let's say Alvarez is starting in 25. Will you sell any of the strikers, any of the mids you have for him?
Yes, I'd
No,
sell
Yeah.
because you want
Watkins.
to keep
I'd
them for
sell Watkins
37.
in a heartbeat for Alvarez and captain him.
I mean, a lot of people will look for Isak, I think, in that position because he's
But
the
he's
guy they
worth the
want at
transfer.
36
That's the
anyway.
point I'm making. He's worth a transfer for that because if you Alvarez is starting,
That
maybe
is-
Haaland isn't starting. You have to chase these up because there's only 3-4 weeks left. You're going to waste. What are you going to gain from Edison over potentially Rhea over 4 to 5 weeks? At the best case scenario, 15 points, 12 points.
I mean, I think this is quite far fetched because I don't really see a scenario um, where let's say we have to sell any of the midfielders. Alvarez, I can make some sense about, but I mean, let's say Mahrez is starting, Grealish won't start, right? You'll sell Grealish, right?
I'll sell
So where is
Grealish in a
that third-
heartbeat for Mahrez because Mahrez and Grealish,
That's right.
the potential is completely different.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. That does not exactly lock up your City spot.
Yeah, but that's a different thing in midfield. But let's say
I think
Grealish is
I
also
think it
starting on to
makes
keep thing. But like you said, for you, Bakar, in your team, Edison is the second City pick. You don't have Grealish. But if you're
No, I
going it's a
completely agree.
third, I don't
To the
like it.
extent where, yeah, I mean, to the extent where it's the second pick, I agree. But let's say if someone has Grealish and Haaland, I still think Edison is worth going for.
I completely disagree. I'd rather go for De Gea next week. More potential for saves, bonus, everything. Because ultimately, like you said, City are going to look to lock out games. And they're playing what? Everton away, right between the two legs of the Champions League. Could concede. Leeds, again, who are fighting for their lives. They've been poor. Again, could concede. In the double, one of the games is also what? Chelsea at home is probably a clean sheet. Then 38, Brentford away, Champions League comes in. There's a lot of potential for him to concede there. He is a very frustrating low ceiling pick. I'm not a big fan of Edison at all.
I think, I mean, a realistic scenario where I can see this being or having a lot of upside is if Haaland doesn't start and if you get news and potentially if you want to move from one of your strikers. But even in that case, a lot of people will have Greenwood, a lot of people will have Isak. Do you think they will sell for
But
Alvarez?
just keep the
because
spot
also-
open. That's
It's
all I'm
dodgy.
saying. To keep the
A lot of-
spot
That's
open.
fine. That's fine. But I mean, it's dodgy and it's still debatable. Even if, let's say, this remote possibility does come true.
What is the remote possibility you're debating, though, Bakar? Because I feel like most people's teams are in a good place because they pretty much have a squad of 15. So you're picking out of some good players. Most people are dealing with benching headaches. So it's very easy to even go in a transfer and then go back to the other player for the next week because we're like with 4 game weeks to go, 1 game week is 25% of a season. I think it's worth haul chasing for such a short period of time. So I do feel like it's okay that you have Edison. I'm not against the pick, etc. as well. But I think Zoph makes a great point here where that opportunity to punt does sort of open up with us getting team news. That's all.
And so let me talk about Alvarez a little bit, why I'm a bullish on him. And again, I'd rather have 3 City attack for the next few fixtures rather than anything to do with their defense. Because I think you can get other picks to United and somebody else in defense now. Over the next 2 games now, we already heard that De Bruyne has managing some sort of injuries and all that stuff. Let's say over game week 34, I think it's fairly likely that Alvarez gets 1 start, maybe not 2. So let's say you get about 100 minutes of Alvarez and all that stuff. We see the numbers here for the last 6 matches for City. In terms of explosive potential, there's nobody else like him. There's only Haaland in that team. His ceiling is very high then for Alvarez. Then 35, you're talking about the team leagues. Now, I'm talking about Alvarez as your 8th attacker, not as your 7th attacker. Let's say we don't get a league that Alvarez doesn't start. Bench him in 35. It's pretty much you're dead ending that spot for 6 million, right? Then 36, you have Everton away. If you want, you could bench him. See what the lineups are. See what Pep wants to do. Then 37 again. 37, what you have to keep in mind, let's say they make the Champions League final. Game week 38 is 1 week before the Champions League. Now, we have previews for this. Pep will play the Champions League team in 38. He will likely play a B team in 37. And again, play a strong team in 36. So you're likely going to get another start for Alvarez in 37 as well, the midweek fixture. So let's say you're talking about 100 minutes for Alvarez and potentially 35, 36, 37. I think the punt is worth taking.
The thing that changes here, I just checked the schedule, is the Champions League final is on 11 June. The season ends on 28th May. And on 3rd June, there's the FA Cup final also. So that sort of comparison
Correct. I
maybe
forgot about the FA Cup final also as well.
yeah,
So they
and
might do
it's
it
an
vice
important game.
versa. They might rest players in 38, 36, sorry, 36
That,
in
in
midweek.
fact, that's a better thing for Alvarez in 38, if you ask me. The fact that there is an FA Cup final also. So
Exactly, because I think
decent
the
punt.
minutes there, it's a decent punt. Ultimately, it's buying a ticket into the highest value lottery in the league, right?
I personally think that it's better if we. I mean, if you want to keep a slot open, that's fine. But I think it's better if you go for him in 35 rather than 34 because there are plenty of other picks in 34 that I like more than
Correct.
Alvarez.
It's team dependent, right? And when we get to my team, I'll talk about it now. See, for example, I don't have Shaw in defense. Now, if I'll be playing my 11th guy, I'll be playing Botman or the forward I bring in for Kane to fund money for Salah. I'm not a big fan of playing Botman, right? Ultimately, he has 6-point potential at home to Southampton, but I want to chase some sort of upside. And I don't want to have, like, I don't even mind, let's say 36 we get there. I'll risk benching Grealish and rather playing Alvarez. Because ultimately, what we've seen about Grealish, he's a decent asset, but he's a 7 to 8 point asset. He's not got the ceiling that Alvarez does. That is my case I'm making for it. Last 5 game weeks, you have to go for something different, right? And where the FPL, the skill is today, is X minutes gauging. Everybody has the information, everybody has 100 algorithms, everybody watches all these videos. But gauging X minutes is really where we have to differentiate ourselves, I think.
Yeah, and I think a good way to maybe go back for this is, I think the Madrid away team is going to be very similar to the team that played Arsenal at the Etihad, because it's going to be a game where he'll want control. It's going to be a game where he'll want De Bruyne playing up front, etc. Because he'll want to protect against the likes of Vinicius and Rodrigo. So do I see a Mahrez and a Foden, for example, and an Alvarez starting against these? Probably, potentially. I'm not against the idea. We'll have that explosive punt opening up to us in 35.
Exactly. And he's going to manage De Bruyne's minutes a little bit also. Like we said, he went off with some sort of injury problem. So again, could manage those minutes in 34 as well.
I think we'll just have more information on 35, because in my opinion, if somebody is chasing or somebody is wanting to get creative, for me, there's just, like I mentioned on a couple of pods ago also, you know when De Bruyne is on it and when he isn't. And this I'm saying, taking into account the fact that yes, he's not going to play the position that he played against Arsenal in all the games. He's going to play much deeper. But when it comes to a sexy beast like Kevin De Bruyne, where he's playing doesn't matter if he's on it. It's just as simple as that. And right now he looks on it. That's all. So I think he's a great differential. Go for.
Zoph, another excellent point that from your discussion, which I gauged, is that it depends on, for example, you have Henry, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of people have Shaw and Estupinan in that position this week. So if a lot of people end up getting Alvarez, they'll basically
bench Trippier.
Bench Trippier this week.
Southampton at home, because Trippier is 90% owned, brother. You have to make up gains.
That's
how you bet against in the double.
I completely don't agree with that. I think Trippier has more potential at home to Southampton than Alvarez this week, because I'm not even sure Alvarez starts both. I think Alvarez has more potential against Leeds next week. That's the fixture if I didn't own Alvarez, that's the fixture I would be worried about personally, because I can see him getting 90 minutes in that fixture.
What do you think, Alar?
I think I can't differentiate too much between the Alvarez / Mahrez / maybe Foden is a tier below them. But I think De Bruyne is above them. Then you have Mahrez and Alvarez in the same level. Then you have Foden. They're a punt. They're a roll of dice with 5 weeks to go. And if you want to live a little, because it is the best team in the league.
I wouldn't be making this discussion, even, you know how dull I am in my style of play. I wouldn't be having this discussion if it was 10, 15 game weeks. With 5 game weeks, you have to throw a Hail Mary sometime.
Exactly. But I do think that if you don't have maybe 3 spots occupied by Liverpool players.
Zoph, my counter to you is, let's say if sorry, I just thought of something. Let's say he ends up getting Alvarez and he has Grealish and he has Haaland. That sort of puts him off going from Salah to De Bruyne in 37 when City are doubling. What if De Bruyne is looking good before 37?
I'll go without De Bruyne. I'll probably do Salah to Bruno then, because I don't think De Bruyne will play both games with the FA Cup and Champions League in mind. That's a punt I'm willing to take.
There are plenty of factors that you have to take into account as well.
And I'm telling you, De Bruyne is not going to be playing the role he played yesterday. That's a very unique system he plays very much against Arsenal. We've seen the De Bruyne doesn't have the similar haul potential if he's playing deeper. Alvarez has as much of a ceiling as Haaland.
On a separate note, guys, do you think there's a pick in that City defense outside of Ederson? No, I don't think. I just think there are better places to go with betting on a defense. I can't pick somebody in the minutes.
I mean, there's Diaz, but low upside.
Low upside and might miss one game anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the thing is that you're anyway dealing with a rotation threat, etc. So I think there are defenders from other teams. Let's name Liverpool here, who just have players capable of offering points on both sides of the pitch that Manchester City doesn't. It's as simple as that. That's what my opinion. This matter is.
Correct. Just one last question before we wrap up on City. Now, if we do get news that Fernandes is fit for the weekend, which Bakar seemed very far-fetched to you, despite somebody... No, I think Bakar's internet craps out occasionally. We are back to it since we're using the video conference. I think he can hear us now. So, Bakar, can you hear us now?
Bakar, can you hear Zoph now?
No, I can't.
I was asking you just a Bruno Fernandes question. What do you think, LR? If Bruno is available for the weekend, those who have sold him, A, do we buy him back? And B, if we have him, do we still hold on to him or maybe use him as an enabler?
I think Bruno's a fine pick. I think if he's playing and if he's fit, especially with Eriksen and Casemiro being fit, he's a perfectly good pick. I see no reason to sell him. What's impressed me the most is probably Bruno Fernandes has been in the best form he has been this season in the last month, in my opinion. So if Bruno Fernandes is playing today, unless you really want to go for a Mo Salah and you see that as a potential upgrade, do that. Otherwise, Fernandes is a great pick.
Because again, for me, the issue becomes money, right? If I sell, let's say, Bruno over Grealish, it enables Alvarez. If not, that spot becomes a dead spot to me, getting Trent. So it becomes a question like for somebody else, it might be, for example, affording a Jota over, let's say, a Greenwood, right? Whether selling Bruno or Grealish. Bakar, are you with us now?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I was asking your opinion on Bruno Fernandes. You said him being fit for the weekend appeared very far-fetched despite somebody else offering you opinions to the contrary. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are that even a broken clock is right twice a day is off. So anyway, I mean, I think in isolation, if a lot of managers are in this position where they have double Brighton mid, Rashford, Fernandes and Grealish, I think you're one of them. If you're looking to sell one to get Salah in, it's an uncomfortable decision to make. I personally think that it's worth keeping Bruno because of United's fixtures after Gameweek 34. Gameweek 34 isn't the best, even though it's a double game week. But after that, West Ham away, Wolves at home, Bournemouth away, Chelsea at home, Fulham at home. I mean, that's as good as it gets. So I think long term, Fernandes outscores Grealish comfortably. And especially when you consider that Grealish, in my opinion, will be rotated in one of the next three, as we mentioned and talked about the City schedule. I think I would rather sell Grealish rather than Fernandes.
But what if it makes a difference, but let's say between getting a Jota versus making that a dead spot versus a Greenwood? Then there's more of a discussion there, right?
Yeah. Jota's worth it.
I don't agree with that personally. I think he's a rotation risk. So I would still side with the option of going with the nailed on player.
Let's segue to the Liverpool section, Bakar. Please elaborate on why you think Jota is a rotation risk.
I mean, he could start both fixtures, but there's the possibility with Diaz back, Darwin back. I mean, we've gone through this discussion quite a lot of times that there's potential of him getting taken off early. And that's something which I don't really like.
So I sort of agree with you now. Again, we go back to Liverpool's schedule, and Klopp is possibly the biggest manager on sports science, the whole red zone he keeps talking about. Now, I think possibly with the games, again, the Sunday-Saturday schedule, Jota just started against West Ham. He could start both games in the double, then he possibly could miss 35. So I like him as a pick for free hitters. But to bring him into your squad, it seems a little bit tricky because even if he doesn't start, he's definitely going to come on. And he's not somebody you can really bench, right? LR, you agree?
I think he's a great differential until the end of the season. Yeah, you see out the odd benching, and I think the game he's benched and he doesn't start, he gives you 30 minutes anyway, and we know what kind of damage he can do as coming on as a 30-minute sub. I think outside of Mo Salah and Trent, if you're going for a third Liverpool pick, Jota is the guy for me. Simply because you put X minutes and all of that in one factor. This guy just knows the back of the goal. When he's on the pitch, he scores goals. He should have had a goal and assist in the game yesterday as well. He's incredibly streaky as well. So I think if people are put off by the 60th minute sub for Diogo Jota until the end of the season, I don't think it's a big deal. You'll see that. You'll see some 60s, you'll see some 30s, but you'll also see a lot of goals. I am for Diogo Jota. I think he's an incredible pick until the end of the season. I don't think he's just a pick for free hit. I'd have him on my free hit. I'd consider him until the end of the season as well. Great pick.
That's fair. I think
I personally think
30. Sorry, Bakar. I was just saying that 36, 37, 38 again. Jota is a good pick. So it might be just one benching, I think, at max.
Yeah.
So that's a fair point. Sorry, Bakar, go on.
now that we need, I personally think that Trent and Salah are bigger priorities. And now that we need Haaland in the team, Trent, Salah in the team as well, potentially even Bruno Fernandes after game week 35. I don't see a spot for Jota at 8.8, 8.9 million for the long term. So I don't really like buying him and then selling him again, especially when expected minutes will always be a worry.
No, I'm not talking about buying. Let's say if you can afford Jota. We're only talking about not to break apart. Do you think the third Liverpool pick, I think there's no debate. The first pick is Salah, the second is Trent, the third has to be Jota.
No, that's what I'm saying. I still don't think I would go there, even if I could afford, because in no scenario do I see myself keeping him after 2 weeks. So he's a transfer in and out.
I don't agree with that. I think let's say if you have, because right now money is an issue. If he's going to be an eighth attacker, I think he's fine.
Exactly. I think there's nothing wrong with Diogo Jota as a pick. You just see out the non-stars as they come. But if people want to go for, what do you think about if people want to go for a Van Dijk or a Robbo for the third Liverpool spot?
Robbo again, the rotation comes in, right? The 6 days thing, Tsimikas could get a game. Van Dijk's a decent shot, but they're not keeping clean sheets. The defensive data is still poor. They look like conceding every game. But I think before that, we need to have a conversation on whether Trent is an quote-unquote essential pick, because especially if you have the backline of, like, let's say Shaw, Estupinan and Trippier, right, going forward. Estupinan and Trippier are both perma plays. Shaw arguably can be played every week from 35 to 38. Trent, you'll likely be benching him in 36. You'll likely be benching him in 37 as well. So it's primarily the upside this week, and it curtails off a lot of other things in your team. So do we think that Trent is absolutely essential and a must-have this week? Take -8s, -4s. Bakar, you first.
I don't think he's essential. I mean, I'm in this position where I can go for someone like a Van Dijk or Robertson. Or, I mean, the alternative is that I have to take an additional hit for Trent. At the moment, I'm still leaning towards taking that additional hit for Trent because we've seen how well Liverpool are doing better at home as compared to away. Trent's numbers, especially since he's moved to this inverted fullback position. I mean, he's first for expected assists in the league across those 4 matches. And I just think he has all potential in those 3 fixtures. I mean, Liverpool at home are a better side, and especially Fulham. That fixture is the one where I really think he can do well, because when you look at Fulham have a fixture against City on Sunday, and I think they'll be tired by the time they face Liverpool. I expect Liverpool doing really, really well against Fulham in midweek, and that's a fixture where I would really like to have Trent in. So even if it is at the cost of 4 additional points, I still think it is worth it.
I kind of agree with you because there is 20 plus point potential there. And like LR said, you have to go haul chasing. Only issue is then, like, who will you really be benching the weeks going forward? I guess you'll be benching Shaw, which is kind of fair.
Don't think about the weeks going forward. We're actually dealing with a condensed schedule, and injury crops up, etc., etc. And like we are mentioning, we're looking at 5 game weeks to go. 1 game week is 20% of a season. It's a significant amount. Like, I don't think you go into planning, etc. We have a squad, we deal with that when we come. Some other player comes up as a pick. It's easy to maybe segue from a trend to a Chile who might show some form in the future, especially now that Cucurella's out for the season. You don't know what you don't know about the future, right? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. There's a couple of games, there are 3 home games in a row that we want to take advantage of. Is Trent essential? No. Is Trent a good pick? Yes. I was actually struggling to come around this, and it was what Alon told us in the pod last week, which made a lot of sense to me, because traditionally, if I'm just watching the games from a loose FPL point of view, I much prefer Trent playing as a wingback and crossing, because in my head, I think that's what I'm subconsciously used to seeing him play and doing well in. But what Alon said, when you're giving so much of the ball to a player like Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's a generational talent when it comes to just passing, just by mere fact that he's on the ball so much, there's going to be chances that he's going to create out of nowhere. It's just by the fact that he's going to have so much of the ball, and anyway, having so much of the ball increases his potential when it comes to bonus points as well. And I think when he's playing deeper, and the kind of games that we're going to see right now, right, for Liverpool, Spurs at home, Fulham at home, these are the kind of games in which Liverpool will have more control than not. So Trent might even be closer to goal. If you saw the game against West Ham, he had a shot from right outside the D. I think there's a Trent scorcher from outside the box around the corner as well. I'm just feeling it, because games that have control at home, in and around the box, giving a player like Trent so much of the ball, just think he's a bloody good pick. And it took me a while to come around that, because I was traditionally thinking, no, I actually prefer him as a wing back than a DM, but I think he's good. Really good pick.
Agree.
Zoph, you're talking about the fixtures. Game week 38 is away to Southampton. I mean, that could be anything as well.
Game week 38 is a crapshoot, bro. Random players get benched and all that stuff.
My point is that you're getting plenty of good games out of him to justify the hit.
And also, Zoph, what happens is if Trent gets a 20+ pointer in this game, you're figuring out ways to not bench him in the future.
Like I would play him over Shaw, because Shaw is what playing as a centre back now. You have to again chase the explosive hauls over the next few weeks. That's what I would do.
That's it. Cool. That's where we are. All Bakar, where would you go with your third Liverpool pick?
On free hit and general buy. I think general buy, you mentioned that you wouldn't go for Jota at all. On a free hit, what would you feel?
No, but where would you go on general buy? Because people are looking to buy. A Liverpool spot is a good spot too.
I won't go with the third one. I don't think I'd go with the third one. On free hit, I'd probably pick Alisson, I think.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So I think Alisson, Trent, and Salah is the way I'd go on free hit.
Bakar, let's say you have 2 City spots and 2 Liverpool spots and 3 United spots, and you have to buy a player this week. Who are you buying?
I mean, the City ones are obvious, I think. Let's say, who are you buying? I mean, Haaland is obvious. The other one.
Obviously, we own the guys we own. Who are you buying? Because, I mean, you wouldn't buy a third City spot. You wouldn't buy a third Liverpool spot. But if somebody has a team with this in place, and United in place, and Brighton in place, you're buying one of these players. You're going somewhere. Where are you going?
Ederson. He's already laid his.
I'm not even kidding. I think yes, Ederson. Seriously. Yeah. Because I mean, all the picks are glue picks till the end of the season. Like legit. I'm not even kidding.
Let's do a little round for the free hitters as well. We've spoken City and Liverpool so far. Who would your 6 on free hit be from these 2 teams?
I'll go
first.
Yeah, I'll go first. Haaland, Mahrez, Alvarez from City. Upside chasing, that's what you got to do for free hit. From Liverpool, Trent, Jota, Salah.
I'd go with the same 3 Liverpool, and I'd go with Haaland, De Bruyne, and maybe because I'm assuming that I'd rather invest in Brighton defense, I'd either go Ederson or a defender from City.
I think it would be quite tight money-wise though to get what you are saying, De Bruyne, Salah, and Haaland.
I'd figure a way out. I'd figure a way out to get De Bruyne in. Because I think if you're on free hit, he's the pick that nobody else is going to own that you're going to own. Figure out a way to get it.
I'd go for Diaz, De Bruyne, Haaland, Alisson's, Trent, Salah.
Good shot. Cool. Let's move on to United next off.
Yes. Why don't you take the floor for this one?
I mean, Rashford's a good pick. Everybody owns Rashford. No need to sell him. Bruno Fernandes, like I mentioned, isn't going to be playing the deep lying role that he did earlier. But I did an article for FFS, and I think for the chasers who are looking for a value pick, I genuinely think Anthony is a good pick now. Uh, I think that right spot is his. There is little to no threat because Ten Hag could easily play Sancho, Rashford, and Marshall as a front three, but he's been talking Anthony up. He's been improving. I think his decision making in the last month has improved a lot. He's second to, if you're looking at data just for the last 6 matches, he's second to Rashford for shots. He's actually had more shots than Rashford, and he's second to Rashford for XG, XGI, shots in the box. So he's got all the underlying numbers. I don't think his expected minutes are at a threat. Shoots on sight, the games sort of suit us, in my opinion. I'd rather buy a United attacker over a defender because I don't expect two cleans against Villa and Brighton. So if somebody's chasing, I genuinely think he's a genuinely good differential shout at the moment, especially when people are looking at players like Salah and De Bruyne and want a value pick. He's a good, cheap differential pick. I think he's go for it. He's one of those players. You have some players who are better in real life and poor FPL assets. He's actually the inverse of that. He's better as an FPL pick than a player when you're watching in real life. He might frustrate you, but he just loves a shot on goal. You might get lucky.
What about Rashford? If you have sold him, do you buy him back this week?
Yes.
I'm of the same view. Bakar?
Yeah.
Yes, I think he's a good pick for the rest of the season. As mentioned earlier, United's fixtures after Gameweek 34 are really good as well, including the double in 37. I would, for sure.
And also, if people are looking for a punt in defense, I genuinely want to shout Diogo Dalot as well. I think he's improved. I think what I like is his expected minutes have gone up significantly because of his versatility, because he can play left back as well as right back. It looks like Shaw and Lindelof are going to be continuing. If we don't have Shaw in place, I think out of the remaining games, Dalot probably misses one league game at max. And he's got enough points potential on the other side of the pitch. So again, I would, in fact, if I was buying a United defender now, I'd probably buy a Dalot over a Shaw.
Definitely. The centre back role does limit Shaw's attacking potential, right? And Dalot is quite attacking.
Yeah.
Who else should we talk about? What should we do? Bruno is a difficult one, right? Because again, the underlying numbers have been good. If he's now, let's say he's on the bench today, available for the weekend, is he a buy?
I don't know if he's a buy. I prefer Salah and De Bruyne in that price bracket over him. Like I said, I'd go cheap with Martial or Anthony if you fancy United attacker outside of Rashford. I think the other two premiums are better. But I think people who own are probably undervaluing him because of the lack of returns in the last month or so. I don't think that speaks of the FPL pick that he's going to be towards the end of the season.
I completely agree with you. Like, for example, if you look apples to apples, I think he's a much better FPL asset than Grealish. Far more direct as such, and been very unlucky not to get any points. So, Bakar, you are planning to hold on to Bruno, right? Let's say if he's available for the weekend.
Yes.
Makes
for
sense.
sure.
Makes sense.
And a lot of people have actually been DMing me, so I thought I'll just address that because people want to take the Marshall punt. I went for him a couple of weeks ago, but that's out of sheer love and sitting at 150k. I want to have fun towards the end of the season, but he still doesn't look fully fit to me. I expect some minutes management from Eric Ten Hag, but he does get big chances. And if you want to have some fun, but he can crumble any game. I go so far to say that I prefer Diego Jota to him if you're punting in attack.
I'd completely agree with you because again, it's a shorter turnout for United as well. Thursday, Sunday, then you have it's not as bad as the other guys, but still, it's 4 games in the space of 10 days. You'd expect Weghorst to sneak a start in one, maybe Rashford to play up top, etc., something like that, right? X minutes are a bit dodgy.
Yeah, but I expect more until maybe Europe is secured. I expect more of 60 minutes sub rather than him not starting games.
The thing is that the fixtures on paper aren't that great as well. So, I mean, I'm not sure if it's worth going there or chasing the upside when expected minutes are likely to be a problem. I mean, I don't expect huge hauls against Villa or Brighton.
I think they're perfectly fine fixtures from an attacking point of view. I don't mind them at all. I think United are capable of creating chances against anyone. It's the defensive picks that I'm iffy about, not the attacking
Yeah,
picks.
both teams are capable of scoring. But that being said, United, the attack has sort of dwindled a little bit over the last few weeks, not scored that many goals. Underlying numbers decent, but the defensive numbers have actually improved despite the whole Maguire situation. I think there's only one game that Maguire played, right? I think then we got Lindelof Shaw back. I like the
Lindelof Shaw as a partnership is going to work, and not to worry.
It looks pretty decent. And Casemiro obviously being back is a major factor as well. Let's just round this up for free hitters. Are there 3 United picks worth going for on free hit?
Yes.
Which ones?
Rashford, pick one of Anthony, Bruno, and Marshall, whoever you want. I fancy Anthony. I'll say that. And Dalot.
I'd go so far to say as Rashford and Dalot, possibly De Gea
Yeah.
if you don't have a spot for a defender, but maybe De Gea, Dalot, or Rashford, possibly something like that.
That's why I picked the Edison or the City defender, because I like City's chances of cleans more than United, and I like United's chances of attacking points more than maybe a Grealish in that spot. You know what I'm saying? So that's the sort of thinking in my head.
Bakar, your free hit picks for United?
I think Rashford and Dalot. I mean, I would have considered Bruno over De Bruyne, but I mean, that's tricky. I mean, you can go with someone like a Mahrez over KDB and then get Bruno as part of the attack. I don't mind that either, actually.
Where are Brighton in all of this? And let's just segue over to Brighton now. In terms of, let's talk about free hitters first. And De Zerbi made a comment after the game yesterday that the team is feeling the number of matches. They have injuries, so they can't really rotate. Are we still as gung-ho on Brighton, or do we expect there to be a dip in form? Because most of the players are perma play now for us for the next 5 game weeks, right?
They were tired, but they still posted 2.5 xg. Mitoma could have easily gotten away with a goal and assist. Same is the case for Marsh. McAllister could have had 2 assists. In fact, things are looking better for McAllister owners now, because De Zerbi did mention that he's hoping to play Veltman in the next game, and he's hoping Ferguson is in the next game. And I think what we've seen in the game against Forest was lack of control, right? Which is why they gave away so many chances on the counter. I think having Gross next to Casido and McAllister as a 10 offers them that slight bit of more control that maybe having Enciso as a 10 doesn't offer. If I was a betting man, I'd say Enciso or Ferguson play as the striker, with Enciso playing the false 9 and McAllister moves back to the false 9. So stick with the 3 Brighton you have.
On free hit, would you look to even bring any of them in? Is Wolves at home? United at home? Which one?
I'd have double midfield.
But we've just spoken about so many other players, right? We just spoken Mahrez, De Bruyne, Rashford. It's all like midfield picks on, because ultimately the forward picks are sparse.
I'd pick 3-5-2.
The forward picks are sparse. That's what I'm saying. But ultimately, like if you're going to pick the double Brighton mids, and you have to sacrifice somebody from Liverpool, City, or United.
I would, because I still trust Brighton as an attacking team, and their minutes are more secure.
Then say a Bruno.
Yeah, I agree.
Bruno or a Mahrez, but I would still go for a Mahrez, for example, on a free hit over a Brighton mid. I'd take that chance.
And something like the Brighton midfield enables the De Bruyne. You know what I'm saying?
I'd get one. That's why I asked you specifically one, because I don't think I would go for a double Brighton mid.
I'd go for double. I'm not against triple also. I think Brighton attack is still posting 2.5 xg every game.
I think they'll do really well this week.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one for free hitters, which would be the one?
Let's assume you're on free hit, right? And you're 3 into 4 from Liverpool, City, Brighton, and United. I'd either swerve a City spot or I'd swerve a United spot, but I'd go 3 Brighton.
Even or maybe I'd swerve. You swerve the Brighton defense, surely. You'd go 2 Brighton.
Yeah, go 2 Brighton. I'd swerve West Estupinan. I'd swerve West Estupinan. That's what I'd swerve, I guess, yeah.
So March and Mitoma or McAllister?
Yeah. Same rule as every single pod that we've spoken about. Go with the vibes.
Fair enough. In general, as an overall strategy, and we can just summarize pretty much a free hit discussion.
I wouldn't swerve Mitoma on free hit. It still looks like the most.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but in general, in terms of ownership, I think you have to, again, what we said, balance out the risk a little bit. But I think you can afford to go a little bit against the grain on certain things. Like I wouldn't pick a Trippier on a free hit. I think you would go against that.
On my bench.
See? You have to,
Yeah.
I think, on a free hit, picking Trippier just doesn't make sense when you can have 11 doublers.
Is what it is.
And
And to be fair, Monica Seles's team have looked like scoring a few goals every game I've seen them. They are decent in attack. Their problems are more at the back than they are up front, despite what the data might say. They just look capable of a goal every game I watch them. So I'm happy to make that bet. The problem is that I can see Trippier getting an assist in that game. And if they manage to get a clean, that's a 15%. But live a little, man. It's all right. What happens, happens. Yeah. Okay.
right. So let's just touch a little bit on West Ham. They do have a double, although there's not been much noise about their assets. And LR, you are big on Bowen.
Yeah, he's looked a good pick, but the fixtures are bad. It's just if somebody wants to punt on a free hit, wouldn't go there until the end of the season. He looks a lot like the Bowen of last season, and he mentioned that in his interview, etc., as well, where he wasn't in his best form, and he's been playing his best form post World Cup. So if you do want to punt, West Ham's fixtures don't really look that great in the double, like Palace away and City away. But if you want to punt outside of the four teams that we mentioned, Bowen is the only place I'd look.
Absolutely. Alon was bigging up Cresswell for his, like, he's playing a bench boost, right? Because he wildcarded last week. And they play Palace away, I think, in one of the fixtures. Could nick something of a
Yeah.
set piece, probably. So maybe that's, but I wouldn't get him in now. Probably if you got him in your last wildcard, that's fine.
No,
That's about it.
Yeah. Go Diego Dallo. Punt there. Like happy. Very highly recommend that pick.
Any input on West Ham,
Yeah.
Bakar?
Pass.
I would agree. I wouldn't bring him even on a free hit. City away just pretty much doesn't count as like a 1 to 2 point thing. It's a
And
full
besides,
general.
Bowen is generally much better at home as compared to away, and both fixtures are away. So
Even in his prime form last year, when we saw, the numbers are extremely swayed towards home goals.
yeah.
What else do we have on the agenda, boys, before bus teams? And we can, I think, let's do a quick captaincy discussion. I think it'll be brief. Haaland.
Yeah. No, it's a good discussion because there are people who are chasing. And shout out to Pras, he was like, why don't you guys talk about the potential of captaining a Mo Salah who's going to get 180 minutes versus fair to say maybe 120 to 140 minutes for Erling Haaland in those two games. That is a conversation to have. It's just the form that City in and the level of football that they're playing. They're above and beyond anybody at the moment. And like you need to be chasing really far. And I'm chasing and I still don't feel comfortable captaining anybody but Erling Haaland. So yeah, Dennis Richards for me.
Do you think there's a small chance that Salah gets rested in one game? It's not impossible. It's unlikely, but improbable.
Yeah.
Is what I would say.
I mean, it could happen. It could happen. I won't completely rule it out. Klopp has done funny things with him in the past.
The Sunday, Saturday turnaround makes things completely unpredictable with Klopp.
Exactly.
And he can toss Jota in the right wing, can do things like that also, right?
The thing that is in their favor with that sort of semi counters that is that it's 3 home games in a row. Like just a little, it's still terrible scheduling for Liverpool, but it's still 3 games in Anfield.
It's less,
So less
travel.
traveling.
Exactly. A lot of things like that.
Yeah.
As well.
And so if somebody wants to do it, I won't discourage them to do it. But at the moment, it doesn't look like I am thinking of doing it. And I generally like to strive. And I'm not doing well. I'm at 150K. I'm still chasing. But I'm not fully comfortable as of Thursday to make the bet against Erling Haaland.
Then let me ask you the question that do you still break the bank to get Salah in if you don't want to captain him, or can you potentially ignore him? I know the answer, but let me ask the question regardless.
I think if you're going to get Salah in game week 35 or 36, etc., I think it's a good time to decide which horse you want to ride until the end of the season. If you're getting him 35, 36, take the hit and get him now.
Correct. I agree the point you're making, but let's say versus somebody like a De Bruyne, I think Salah is still streets ahead, right?
If I'm picking until the end of the season, I'd pick Salah. If I'm picking on free hit, I'd pick De Bruyne probably. I don't know.
Me too. I think Bakar and similar response.
Yes, I think I prefer Salah just because of a higher expected minutes, more goal threat.
And in general, Klopp's quite bullish about the end of the season. His comments keep saying to the effect that we want to show our real face for the remaining games and all that stuff. He was very keen on finishing the season strong. So I think there are definitely reasons to invest in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Let's just do a quick roundup of the zonal matchups
Yes, let's do that.
from Fantasypedia. We have only a couple of slides here since the data is incomplete from the match. We don't have the ones for the matches today. So we'll talk about Manchester United's opponents first, Villa and Brighton. Villa have conceded only 2 goals last 6 game weeks, kept 5 clean sheets. Good defensive outfit in general. The weaknesses, I don't see any glaring weaknesses, probably down Moreno's side. If anything, I would say because Moreno does get forward a lot, and that's again goes back to our Anthony punt.
Yeah. Just think he's a good punt.
Similar for
I don't know.
Estupinan as well, because ultimately both the left backs are the ones that do an attacking threat. So I think Anthony punt is not bad, especially on a free hit. I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, and he's not expensive, right? Like at 7-ish, whatever he costs, I think he's fine as a punt.
Anything to add here, Bakar? We'll move on to the next one.
Yep, move on.
Let's talk about Manchester City's opponents, Fulham. Big weaknesses down the center. Then we have the West Ham thing also as well. Why are you chuckling away at that? Tell me.
I mean, look at that, and then think about betting against Erling Haaland. Like it's for the brave. Like I don't know how. And I was talking to Pras and Hibbo, and Hibbo actually made a really good point where he was like, generally Haaland's fitness and expected minutes is sort of overblown in the FPL community. Like there is nothing to tell us so far that he doesn't do anything but play when fit. And the title isn't won yet, you know. Like yeah, City are in a good position, etc. But they still need to win the games they do.
If
And
City win, the City play before Arsenal, and if they win this weekend, they actually go on top.
exactly.
But
I think
Arsenal play Chelsea.
yeah, and it's a conversation. Still, even though it's such a great fixture on paper for Arsenal, do you get rid of your Arsenal assets
This week?
this week?
Hell
Yeah.
no. You're absolute shambles.
Yeah. But things are not bad now. Pochettino, what do you think about that appointment? Let's talk a little football because I think there is football
I'm
to
excited.
discuss.
I've always liked Pochettino right from the time he took charge at Southampton. I remember he had displaced Nigel Atkins, who had just
Yeah.
about got the team going at that time. They had just won at Stamford Bridge. It came as a bit of a shock. It wasn't well received necessarily by the fans, but that was a brilliant team for these young players like your J-Rod, Lallana. They really flourished under him. And I like him. He's a coach, not just a manager, right? Compared to a lot of other things we've seen very much in the Ten Hag mold. But I think first of all, we need a big clear out. I don't think we'll be renewing Felix's loan and all that stuff. I think we need a much smaller squad because we won't have Champions League. And the fact that he's
Yeah.
going to have a week to work on between matches is hugely encouraging, I think. I'm excited for Poch.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
actually,
actually
that's a
wanted
really
him
good
over
point.
Nagelsmann. I liked him more over Nagelsmann personally because he knows the league a lot. I don't dig the whole skateboarding vibe. It's not for me.
Yeah. And just while we're here, what do you guys think about the relegation race? I mean, huge. I can't state how big a result that was for Forest yesterday, getting them out just of the relegation battle. Who do you think is going?
I think Leeds look tough, right? I think Southampton is pretty much a given. It's very hard to
Bamford
say.
miss.
Forest, I
was-
think as well.
Forest, you
I
think
still
so? I
think
think they
Forest will
showed
go
a
down.
little bit of fight. I haven't looked closely at their fixtures enough, honestly, to comment. But Leeds also, they're not just not showing enough for me.
I mean, Forest are heavily dependent on their home form, and they have one home fixture against Southampton in 35. Other than that, they have Chelsea, Arsenal, Palace, Brentford. I mean,
The Chelsea
not the
fixture is a
best of
banker,
fixtures.
and after that, so that's
That's a bridge. That's at the bridge, though.
yeah. But the way we were yesterday, bro, the bridge, they're booing Lampard. The bridge is a bad place. I think they can probably pick up points there. Those 6 points
But
are massive.
you boys both think Everton and Southampton are done?
Everton, no, not necessarily. No, Everton will, I think, keep fighting.
I just think the other teams have shown more than what Everton have shown so far this season. Even, Leeds, for example. So the third spot is very, very difficult to call, and Forest have done well.
I think
the last
Everton
weekend.
will probably. I think Everton will probably stay up. I think Leeds go down with Forest and Southampton.
Wow, call that. We all think Leicester make their way out of the relegation zone.
Yes, I think so.
I think there's just too much quality there. for them to go down, especially with Barnes and Matterfit.
Coming back to the Arsenal mids, a lot of, I mean, the fixture is good on paper, but again, a lot of us are in this position where the people have to buy Salah and all the other people or in the midfielders in the team, double Brighton mids, Fernandes, Grealish, Rashford are players you won't ideally want to sell. So I mean, by default, a lot of people will be forced into selling the
You
Arsenal
have to
mids.
sell him, but I wouldn't be
I mean,
surprised if they outscore
yeah.
the double game week, guys.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but it's a choice you just have to make on
absolutely.
yeah,
Very
just
much
because they don't have a
tongue-in-cheek
double
from
this
Zoph
week
there.
and they don't have a double this week, and after this week their fixtures are tough as well.
Newcastle away right after, no?
Yeah, and then Brighton at home.
Cool. Let's go to our teams.
Let's do our teams. Right. This is my team up first. I've got into
Just
go ahead.
before. Sorry, I cut you. I mean, if you're punting, you go Salah. Do you go Rashford as a punt? Do you go De Bruyne as a punt?
De Bruyne,
Salah,
I
Haaland?
think his X minutes risk is too high, given he just played yesterday. The comments and I don't know. Possibly Pep says it was completely nothing, but despite what De Bruyne showed yesterday, I don't think he's as high ceiling.
I think outside of Haaland, if you're punting, you go Liverpool or you don't. What do you think of what are Brighton's fixtures? They're decent fixtures.
Wolves at home, United at
Wolves
home.
and United, they're not too bad, and especially because the thing is that the gap that Brighton have before United is like a 4-day gap, and United before they play Brighton also have a 3-day gap. It's just. Do you think? No, not even a
I
Brighton.
think you
win
go
as a punt.
Liverpool. 2 home games for Liverpool. The ceiling is there.
I think if you're punting, you punt on Salah. Otherwise, you stick with Haaland. I think that's about it. I'm just trying to see if there's a case for anybody else.
The only one I could potentially. I'm a bit high on Mahrez still. Again, it's a total Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Only if you're chasing
It's just,
Mahrez.
if his expected minutes are same as Haaland, let's say, which is a fair assumption, if not an optimistic one, still go Haaland.
Because what he just got a hat trick. Let's talk about it. He got the hat trick against United, and he played against Sheffield United, and he played very well. And right to the next game, Pep has benched him, so he's sort of obliged. I know Pep does random things to start him at least in the next one. The game after that becomes sort of performance dependent, right? But you're getting at least one start from Mahrez.
But the thing is, the Foden is back. That's the worry. But yes, I agree with that.
Foden can come for Jack, right?
Yeah, I mean that could happen.
Again, these are all very speculative plays.
No, I think the punt, if you're punting, is Salah. Spurs and Fulham at home, especially that fixture, second one being a banker. Spurs aren't, pulling trees defensively either these days. That's the way. That's where you go.
They play
if you're
Spurs
punting.
first, right? I think the Spurs is the first game.
Or Trent for that matter.
Yeah,
the Spurs is the first game, and you guys play on Thursday. So Thursday, Sunday again, shorter turnaround for Spurs as well. So Spurs are going to be a bit tired when they pop up at Anfield.
Yeah. Bakar, I still go attack. I think there are goals to chase. Trent, Salah, the explosiveness.
Would it just surprise you if Spurs scored at Anfield? It wouldn't surprise me.
Surprise me at all. And shout out to Marco if you're listening. Wouldn't surprise if your team scores against Liverpool as well. So yeah,
absolutely. Cool.
That's been happening, by the way, Bakar. Are you aware?
Yes. I heard the Dan James. I heard the Dan James call.
Yeah, he just listens to us every week. Quite happy about that. Marco, if you're listening and you want to join a Discord, we've got a great bunch of people who also wanted you to bench Vinicius, and they'll generally have great tips for you. So you can either, support us on Patreon or become a member on YouTube, and there's a great bunch of people you can interact with on the Discord.
And like and subscribe as well, guys. Cool. Let's do our draft discussion. I've got Rhea in goal, Trippier, Estupinan, Chilwell currently in defense, Mitoma, March, Grealish, Rashford, Fernandes, Kane and Haaland cap. I've got 2 free transfers and about 1.5 in the bank. Currently, I'm thinking Kane, Grealish, Chilwell out for Alvarez, Salah and Trent.
Get Jota's off.
Can't. Way off. I'm way off that. I can only afford 6.5 for that slot. So I have to then pretty much sacrifice Trent. But the problem is if I had Shaw, I could have potentially thought about that. But I don't want to be playing Botman. I don't want to be playing Chilwell. I don't necessarily want to be playing Henry.
See what Bruno does today, but get Jota.
I'm a bit bullish on Alvarez. I'd rather back Alvarez, the horse I want to back.
It's the move I suggested to you last week as well. I'm just feeling Diogo. When he's hot, he's hot. He's treated you well also in the past.
Yep. definitely.
have a couple of days to
But
think
then
about
it's
this.
the money. I would make no qualms about saying that Jota is a better pick than Alvarez. If you have the money, definitely go for Jota or Alvarez. But I don't. So the other alternate route now, if I sell Bruno,
Sell Bruno, na?
no, I'm selling Bruno already, Baba. My point is now, let's say if I do it while selling Grealish, then I have to go for that striker spot 4.7, which in case means I have to bring Botman off the bench. You see the difference? This is why I'm leaning towards rather selling Bruno rather than selling Grealish, because I'm getting that effective one spot with a bit more upside.
Fair.
Because Botman,
No,
again, like you said,
I still think in your position I would sell Grealish.
yeah, but then and play Botman.
Either that or you can choose to do Watkins to Alvarez for a hit if you fancy him.
That's a bit of a bridge too far.
I know you won't go there, but
yeah,
I mean, I would
Watkins
honestly
will
play
become
Botman.
Isak anyway for a couple of weeks, so I don't.
I
really
mean,
want to...
honestly, I honestly won't be surprised if Shaw was outscored by Botman this week. So
yeah, but again,
I would honestly do that.
It's not a fun. This was again a game with 15 game weeks to go. I would do that move, but again, I want to chase a haul with each one of my players this week. That's the
Points
thing.
are fun, Zoph. Points are fun.
More points are more fun, Bakar. You're so dull, Bakar.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think Bakar's also a little upset because
I feel
Zoph
like
is becoming the sexy one on this pod now. I feel like Zoph's stealing his thunder, Bakar.
I want the ground to open up and swallow me. I mean, Zoph is telling me that I'm boring.
So boring, Bakar.
But I've been liking Zoph. He's getting a little sexier in the last 2-3 weeks with the Jordan Ayew call and everything. He's nicely surprising me.
Gotta get creative the final few weeks.
Yeah, like that.
This is now. I think with Tony, this is your team, LR.
Yes, I've got. I want to know what you guys would do. I've got Raya, Trent, Shaw, Estupinan, Salah, Grealish, March, Mitoma, Rashford, Marshall, and Haaland. So that's 10 doublers, Raya, and a free transfer. Unfortunately, no bench boost because I've got Ivan Toney who plays Forest at home. I've got Trippier who plays Southampton at home on the bench. But yeah, I'm just chilling with these picks.
How much cash?
No bench. 8.8.
Wait, what? How much cash do you have with the free? I'm saying, how much cash in the bank?
0.8.
0.8, not 8.8. Yeah, that's why I got confused. So
0.7 million actually.
Interesting. I don't want you to say, but
Are you going to make a transfer?
I don't know. Let's see. I mean, I'm in a woozy, have fun sort of state of mind. The one I really want is Jota.
Potentially, I'd consider Grealish to Mahrez.
Similar, actually. I would do that.
I don't like saving a transfer when this is just pretty much. I think this is the main double because the 37 double, a lot of things might be sewn up by then. You might have the fourth spot, title, and all.
That's a good shout.
This is the week to chase.
That's a good shout.
And the ceiling is totally different, right? I've owned Grealish for a few weeks. He's a good pick, but then he's not nowhere near Mahrez in terms of your 20 plus potential.
That's a good shout.
Mahrez could be on penalties, by the way.
The alternates them with Haaland. If Haaland is subbed off, he takes it.
That's a really good shot. I like that. I'll probably do it. I like that. That's a couple of days to get more creative with my picks. I'll see what comes out in the pressers, etc. as well. I do have a Liverpool spot open though, and that's the place I want to go with a punt also. So let's see. Unfortunately, my team structure doesn't allow me to get a Diogo Jota.
Because you have to sell Marshall then, right? And I don't think you have enough money to go from Marshall to Jota.
Yeah, I don't. And then what I do is you can't even downgrade Kepa because he's going to be useful in the double later. So
no, I would have suggested Raya to Edison, but I'd like you to, like we discussed earlier, keep that City spot open.
Yeah, it's how I play. 10 times out of 10 times I pick that open spot. You sold me there because I was looking at that as an option, and you're like, oh no, you're going to get a punt based on an ITK. Like I'm buying into that 10 out of 10 times.
Even not necessarily ITK, right? You can make X minutes guesses because let's say somebody plays on Sunday, somebody plays on Wednesday. You can take the punt that he won't play the other game against Leeds.
Yeah, if I didn't have Marshall, I'd have done Grealish to Anthony, following up on my instinct there. That's what I probably would have.
Anything to add, Bakar? We move on to your team?
Yep. I just go Grealish to Mahrez in Pranil's case.
I do what the pod partners tell me this time.
Do you have your team on screen, Bakar?
Yes, I have Ederson in goal, Chilwell, Trippier, Stupinan, Shaw, Odegaard, March, Matoma, Rashford, Fernandez, and Haaland, who will be my captain. Um, I have 2 free transfers and 0.1 in the bank, so I'm potentially looking at a -8 this week because I have to buy Salah. I think Trent is also a priority for the reasons we've discussed in the podcast. But to afford those transfers, I will have to sell. I mean, Odegaard to Salah will happen, Kane to Greenwood will happen, and Chilwell to Trent will happen. But I will need almost 0.6, 0.7 million spare.
You can
So in
dead
that
end
case,
Kepa.
I can either do that, or I can just pick someone like a Van Dijk over Trent, which is something which
Just
I don't
dead end
really
Kepa.
like. Yeah, I was
So Van
actually
Dijk's
thinking
been
of.
getting his head on the back of a goal. He's been getting a few chances in the last few
But
games.
you don't want to go against Trent, bro.
Yeah, I don't really feel like that either. I mean, I'm happy to take the additional hit. What I was thinking was I was thinking of moving Watkins to Isak because that's a move I'll be making in 36 anyway.
That's a fair shout.
That's
So
what
what
I
are the
was
moves
thinking.
again?
Or I mean, I
Bakar?
can go Alvarez off. I mean, I can go Alvarez as well. In
Oh yeah,
that
you don't
position.
have Grealish.
I can go Alvarez, but the problem is that given my structure, then I will have to sell Alvarez in 36 for Isak.
That's fine. You can send Watkins in 36. So you'll be selling what? But yeah,
I'm
that's
selling
perfectly
Watkins.
fine. Sell him in 36. What's the problem?
What are the moves again, Bakar?
Chilwell to Trent, Kane to Greenwood, Odegaard to Salah, and for that I need 0.5, 0.6 million to fund. So basically, I'm looking to sell Watkins because I don't see Watkins of being much use in the future. As discussed, I mean, my options are Isak or Alvarez.
All right.
I mean,
You
if
don't
I
have
pick
any move planned in 35 from what I can see.
the trouble with the trouble with I don't have any move transfer in 36 either if I buy Isak. I mean, I won't have anything to do for 2 weeks. But the thing is, I mean, something almost always comes up. But the thing is, let's say if I buy Alvarez this week, Zoph, who will I bench? I'll bench
Trippier.
Shaw.
I already
I
told you.
mean,
Trippier.
Trippier. I prefer Trippier over Alvarez this week.
Or
That's
maybe
the
you
trouble.
bench
I
Shaw,
mean,
like you said, Botman can outscore Shaw. So clearly your expectations aren't very high in that position as well.
Yeah, they aren't.
Bakar, I'd consider Fernandez to Salah and then doing Kane to Jota.
I'm not going to sell Fernandez. I don't think so. If he's fit, I think he's going to do well. I'm
just really pushing the Jota punt. I think he's a very extremely high ceiling pick towards the end of the season.
Let's see how it goes. I'm not going to go against Fernandez. I think he's a season keeper.
I'm expecting a thank you message if he hauls tonight, Bakar. Let's do a Q&A.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let us get in your questions. We have Blue Tick Bakar here suited and booted to answer those questions. And while you guys are here, fairly strong crowd of about 900 people watching us. We really appreciate if you guys just, come on, it's towards the end of the season. We're at about 23,400 subscribers. We really try getting close to that 25,000 mark. If you could just hit the like and subscribe. If you like our work and have liked it all season, get on Twitter and support our work, get the word out. We really appreciate it. And hit the like button right now. Mr. Pablo Pablito is asking Watkins to Isak.
So the thing with Isak, and we didn't get to touch upon it, is that Newcastle's schedule again is also condensed. They play today, that is Thursday, and then they play Sunday. I don't think the same striker is going to start both these games.
I agree.
Yes, I think he won't start I don't think he starts in 34. But
it depends.
Again, a lot of people are in this position where you can bench him.
It depends what happens.
I mean, if you're in the position where you can bench him, then that's fine. Let's say if he plays 80, 85 today, then you can bench him.
All right, more questions. We've got a super chat. TC Haaland Salah or decent BB34. Wow. Danny here has got bench boost as well as triple captain open. Danny, if you're chasing, it's sitting there, the triple captaincy for Salah. Do we have a better double? 36, 37?
37 is the problem against City. Could have the league title soon up. United could have fourth. 37 is not the one I would punt on for bench boost, especially because random rotation could happen.
Yeah, and you can still find a great single game week to bunch on punt on triple captain. Yeah, get rid of the bench boost now, and then figure when to use the triple captaincy chip. I agree. Right. Sell Chilwell for Trent. I think all three of us unanimously
Yes.
say yes, and Zoph says yes twice. Uh, we've got a super chat from DP. Which two to bench? Zinchenko, Botman, and your boy Rico. Zoph, why don't you answer this one?
I would probably bench Rico and wait, Zinchenko is playing Chelsea. Don't bench Zinchenko. Play Zinchenko.
I'd bench
I'd bench
bench
Botman.
Rico.
Henry and
I'd bench Botman. No, actually, you would bench Rico. Only thing
Yeah,
Rico
Forrest
He's
have been
asked
doing
which
well
two
in
to bench.
attack.
Which two
He's
to-
asked which two to bench.
So
Yes.
play Zinchenko.
Basically, one to start.
Play Zinchenko.
I would probably play Botman.
I agree with Zoph's Zinchenko. Arsenal. I mean, I think it's worth mentioning to Arsenal. I mean, City have been doing what they've been doing, but like Arsenal fans shouldn't feel upset about what happened yesterday. They've still had a fabulous season. It's just that we live in an era that most of us that aren't City fans have to make do being second best to a team that has completely dominated the league, and that's where we are. And it's a team that improves year on year, that has one of the best managers in the league, and they're in their 6th or 7th season with this manager, compared to Arsenal fans who are in their second and 2.5 seasons in with Arteta. I mean, team's doing great age, etc. as well. You guys have had a great season and have a great future to look forward to. I mean, you could be a Chelsea fan, ask Zoph. So,
Yeah,
things are good.
The
and
summer window is
we-
big for Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Who do you bench? Isak, Trippier, or Shaw? Not
Isak.
Shaw. I think you
Isak,
played
depending on what happens tonight.
Yeah.
Depending on what happens tonight, Isak.
If Isak starts tonight, I'd probably bench him.
All right. Cool. I think let's wrap up here.
Yep.
And
Watch some cricket.
watch some cricket. Yashasvi Jaiswal is currently on 62 out of 34 balls off. So I've got good point. That little draft we have. Right, guys. Thank you so much for being with us. Any last words? It's good to have you back, Bakar. And
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
It might have not seemed like it, but the reason we were bantering so much today is because we really missed you.
Obviously.
so
it's all stored up, right? And all that.
Exactly.
Bakar got a little bit passive aggressive today in the middle.
yeah. Like the first 30 minutes, I was happily like I could have gotten myself a beer, sat quietly, and just watched you two like just go at it.
The Alvarez debate was interesting.
Yeah.
I'd love it if you buy him, Bakar. The whole Kevin Egan thing, I'd love it.
Funny part is I still might go for him because I will be selling Watkins, right?
My advice to both of you: get Diogo Jota. That's the thing.
I would again. Money.
Yeah.
I don't have the
All right, let's
millions
see
in the
what Bruno
bank that
does
my
today.
friend Bakar does. On that note,
Yeah.
good night, everyone.
Take care, boys.
All right. Good night.